want to welcome you to the December 5th episode of Laid Back History's 2024 Advent Calendar, brought to you by the National Road Heritage Corridor. Let's see what we're going to talk about today. So on this cold, snowy morning, I'm sitting in Claysville, and yesterday I kind of hinted that we were going to talk a little bit more about John Purveyance. And the reason that we're in Claysville is because John Purveyance actually laid out this town. And strangely enough, this town might not be here if not for a tragedy that occurred in 1799. John Purveyance was the purveyor of the Sign of the George Washington Tavern that sat up where the Trust Building in Washington sits today, so on the corner of Main and Bow Streets. And in 1799, sometime in the late fall, early winter, there was a fire in the tavern, and there was at least one person that died. I've seen reports that it was two, but I know at least one person died. And John Purveyance at that point just decided he did not want to run the tavern anymore. And so what he ended up doing was in 1800, he bought a tract of land here in what is now Claysville. The tract of land was originally purchased by a gentleman by the name of Thomas Walter in 1785, and it was deeded as superfine bottom. And the reason that Thomas Walter wanted this land is because there were three natural springs that ran down through it. And actually today, in this town, you'll still see where those three springs are. They're a little bit hidden now. They don't flow as much as they used to. But even today, under the Sprouse Hardware Building, there is a stream that runs through, and that is from one of the natural springs that starts up on the hill on the opposite side of the National Road. But Thomas Walter sells the land to John Purveyance, and he has the farm here, and he does end up opening up a tavern. But when the National Road goes through, when construction is happening, he decides to lay out a town. And so in 1817, he lays out the town of Claysville. Where it gets its name is from Henry Clay. Henry Clay is sometimes known as the father of the National Road, but he was a big proponent of the construction of this nationally funded road, and he also affected the route that it would follow. He had some reasons that he wanted the road to follow the route that it finally would, but when it was surveyed for the first time, it did not come through the modern towns of Uniontown, of Scenery Hill, Brownsville, Washington, Claysville, West Alexander. It was actually south of here, and it wasn't even going to hit any of those the areas that would become those towns. But because of his influence, the route was changed. It was resurveyed, and the pipe towns, as we call them today, those towns like Uniontown and Washington and Brownsville and Claysville would boom and would grow up. And so John Purveyance thought it was fitting to name the town after Henry Clay, because it was because of Henry Clay that the road went through his farm. So, but if you look back, Claysville starts because of a tragedy, because of John Purveyance and his Sign of the George Washington catching fire in 1799. Now it's cold, and I'm going to call it a day because I couldn't even get Lucy out of the truck today to be part of this with me. So she's staying warm, and I'm going to go get warm. So thank you for joining me for another episode of Laid Back History's 2024 Advent Calendar, and I will see you tomorrow.